welcome to another edition of Mohawk's interviews through the newsroom, or from the newsroom rather. I'm here with Joey Coleman, who is an independent journalist in Hamilton, Ontario. He's gained a reputation from live streaming city council meetings as well as other public meetings, and managing Twitter, from what I hear, endlessly and ferociously. So let's just start maybe with a brief introduction. Who you are, how you got to where you are now.
So I am a journalist. I run my own media outlet here in Hamilton. As we all know, our field is changing, and we don't know what the future of journalism looks like, but we know the past is not going to be the future. And that's not just a generic statement, it's really real. We're watching newsrooms close, cut back, and there seems to be no end to the cutbacks. So myself, I've worked in newsrooms, the Maclean's, the Globe and Mail, the Hamilton Spectator. In 2010, I decided it was time to break out on my own and pursue my own ambitions, my own dream of journalism. So today, I live stream public meetings. So that's usually everything at City Hall, Police Services Board, some school board. And if there's breaking news in the middle of the night, I'm the guy that's there. I carry a kit in my backpack that enables me to go live from anywhere in less than 5 minutes.
Good. So why did you get into journalism? Why did you choose journalism as a field?
It sounds a bit cliche, but I think journalism sort of chose me in that. So I ran my own blog, and I started my blog in 2004 when I left the military because I wanted to play with blogging. Blogging was this new thing, and it was more the coding back end of blogging, not the writing. But I had to write a lot in order to have content to manipulate using code. And eventually I ended up on my student union council first year. And I said, okay, I'm going to write to my constituents about university issues. I started researching a lot, writing that research about universities. All of a sudden, I'm covering universities across the country, university politics, that's student unions, governance, policy. And in 2007, Maclean's magazine offered me a job. I took the job, and now I'm a journalist. And so from there, I just kept going, and it's always about the pursuit of what's next. And as I say, if I ever get bored, it's time for me to go get a job that's 9 to 5 wearing a suit.
Yeah. So you did work for Maclean's. You got a job at Maclean's partway through studying at McMaster. You've also written for the Globe and Mail and for the Hamilton Spectator. What was it that made you want to go independent?
The freedom, the ability to innovate and experiment. I have watched a lot of my colleagues lose their jobs. I've watched layoffs. And layoffs are arbitrary. They're just, okay, here are the bottom 5 guys on the seniority scale. Goodbye. And I remember one of them at Maclean's where one of the writers who was just amazing, very witty, very smart, was laid off. He's now writing for the National Post, and I love his writing every day. And that was sort of a signal to me of I could be next. Why I wasn't chopped off was because I was non-unionized, on contract columnist. But that was sort of the point where I said, okay, you know, I think we need to work on reinventing journalism. It's the independence, the fact that I don't punch out at 6 p.m. And it's one of those things that it could be 10:30 at night. I could be lying in bed ready to go to sleep, and something comes through on my BlackBerry that's news. And I hop out of bed and I get to it. And in a traditional newsroom, you can't do that.
Fair enough. So what would you say the toughest thing about running an independent news website is?
The business model. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a businessman. But that's just as important as covering things. And I spend too much time covering things. And that's not cliche. That's literally, I will be 14, 16 hours a day covering things and then do the business model outside that. And it's finding that balance again and finding that discipline to be able to say, I need to work on the business model right now, not chase this story. And that said, it's also, nobody else has done what I'm doing before. I can't go, here's the checklist. And, but the great thing is that I sometimes fail. And failure is a great opportunity to learn. If I'm not failing at least half the time with my experiments, then I'm not really experimenting.
All right. Well, what is, I mean, we talked about what the toughest thing is. What's the most rewarding part of it, though?
The most rewarding part of it is walking down the street, not even knowing a person, and them coming up and saying, I have this every once in a while. It's not as much as I wish it was, but it's happened. And say, I never used to watch city council meetings. I used to not know what was happening at City Hall. I now know what's happening at City Hall because I follow your work.
Okay. Now you talk about having to maintain the business model and keeping the funds coming so you can keep doing what you're doing, buying new equipment for your camera. How are you getting paid? How are you being?
So right now I'm still at the break even. I'm paying the bills just barely. You know, as I note, it's a bit of a small example, but Les Miserables. I'm finally going to go see it this weekend. But you know, the money was a little tight in the new year, so Les Mis was a bit of a luxury I couldn't have. I'm just going to repeat that because Les Mis was a bit of a luxury that I couldn't have, but that's not much to give up for the fun I have. So it's a lot of crowdfunding. It's people voluntarily contributing because I don't put it behind the paywall. And the reason why is philosophically, journalists get access that citizens should be entitled to, but citizens sometimes don't have. And I think that the exchange of that access is that you're serving the public good. You're giving the public a return. So for example, at City Hall, I use their electricity, I use their internet. They don't pay me, but they let me use that. And there is a cost to the taxpayer of that, and it may not be much. But no, it doesn't matter the amount of the exchange, it's the principle of it. I have access to those resources in exchange for the public good that I'm doing. And a paywall goes against the public good. What we have to do is we have to convince the public of the value of our work that they're willing to voluntarily contribute. And that's along the lines of the NPR PBS model. So I've had a lot of contributors who contributed amounts last campaign. They've said, as soon as you launch this new one, I'm in for a larger amount this time because I feel it's such a great investment.
Okay. Now you've worked all over Canada and you've done projects all over the world as well. But you chose to come back to your hometown of Hamilton. And the way you described it in our lecture today was because Hamilton's one of the only places in Canada you're seeing 4 of the business models in journalism all competing together. Do you want to just elaborate on those business models?
Well, first I'll say is that I've only lived away from Hamilton for short periods of time when I was with the Army, so postings, training. I lived for a year in Winnipeg. My heart's in Hamilton. It's where I was born. I know the city. And if you're going to do local journalism, you really have to know a city. And it's an advantage that I have. And it's not just being born in Hamilton. Somebody can move to Hamilton and do this. Let's be very clear that I don't buy into the you have to be born in Hamilton to know Hamilton model. In terms of the 4 business models, and this is where it's really interesting to see how they play out. We have Your Hamilton Biz, which is a hard paywall. If you're not paying, you're not getting. There's no way around it, period. Spectator, which is a leaky paywall. You can easily get around it. It doesn't require anything more than stopping the loading once the content shows on the page. And Your Hamilton Biz, the content is actually pretty high quality. I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen. I have found a way around their paywall, but that's very technical to do. So, you know, and Mark Cripps, when he reads this, he'll probably be like, okay, I've got to shut Joey off. But, you know, and Mark Cripps, for those of you who don't know, is the head of Your Hamilton Biz. Mm-hmm. Very good quality, but high cost. I don't know if that's going to succeed. I don't know if the forced payment is going to work. Spectator, it's your usual quality, old-style journalism with a leaky paywall. And I don't know if that's going to work. CBC is taxpayer-funded, no paywall. That's the involuntary contribution model. It doesn't make it invalid. I'm just noting that people don't get the choice of if they're going to fund it or not. That's done through your taxes on the presumption of public good. And then you have my model, which is it's all out there, it's free, but you can voluntarily say, I see such value in this that I'm willing to contribute.
And which one of these models, you said what we should expect is not all 4 of these models are going to be able to succeed much longer. You said 2 or maybe 3 might survive. Which ones do you see surviving right at this juncture? What do you think is
CBC will survive just because government will continue to exist. That said, as government increasingly faces the pressure of healthcare funding, CBC is $1 billion a year. And when you put it, and this is simplistic, but as we continue to go towards healthcare eating up more and more of the budget, eventually the question will be healthcare or the CBC. And I don't think CBC is going to win against healthcare when we have a large population over 65. That day may come and they're going to have to go to the hybrid model. I see them being a hybrid PBS model, partially government funded, partially viewer funded. The spec model, I don't know if that's going to succeed because as increasingly media goes to niches, is there room for the generalized metro? And they're the metro. You have local metro, provincial, national, international. And I only see room for provincial, maybe, in a province like Ontario, one or two national outlets and one international brand. Like Al Jazeera is an international brand. Guardian's an international brand. The metro is being squeezed between provincial and local. And I don't know if they're going to survive that squeeze. And then the leaky paywall, are people willing to pay for that? Your Hamilton Biz, I think the cost is too high. The question is are business people willing to pay for it through a business expense account? Because it doesn't feel like I'm paying for it, my company is. And that's worked for in other areas. Will it work here? So I think my model will succeed because if I didn't, I wouldn't be doing it. But it's going to be tough, and maybe it doesn't. So that's sort of it. If you ask me which are going to survive, myself, of course, because if I didn't think, I wouldn't be doing it. CBC, and we'll see if the Spec or Your Hamilton Biz does. I don't want to say they won't, but I'm not sure that they will.
Okay. You talked a lot in your lecture again about HTML and getting involved in social media. You yourself have built all your own websites. You've certainly customized your equipment spectacularly. You have all your equipment so that you can always get the best visuals and the best audio. What do you think is going to be the next kind of big advancement, or what do you think journalists are going to need to do to be at the top of the game?
The next big thing. Google Glasses looks like it'll be the next big thing, but the thing is that it's not the next big thing for journalism because everybody has it. Everybody can live stream. It's really not that hard. So fundamentally, it comes down to, do you have enough understanding of the technology to make sure that it doesn't overtake you, and the understanding of basic journalism fundamentals? There are people who are better at Twitter than me. There are people that are way better at designing websites than me. There are people that are better at doing video than me. What I have is a unique expertise in each of them, enough knowledge of each of those subject areas that as a package, I can do that. So let's look at a hockey player. You can be the most amazing forward and hit the net every time. But if you can't play any defense, and the guy you're supposed to play defense at gets a breakaway every time, you're not on the hockey team. And vice versa. You can be an amazing defenseman, but if you can't handle the puck at the blue line on offense, you're not on the team. The fundamental skill is the ability to verify information, to step back in the heat of the moment and not rush to retweet, not rush to be first. Because if you're first and you're right, 2 weeks from now, nobody remembers. If you're first and you're wrong, 2 years from now, people remember. There really is no incentive to being the first. I'm first a lot, but it's not for the sake of being first. And I've done that before where I've fallen into the trap of, I want to be first on this, and I've been burned. And I had to learn that lesson the hard way. And I think we all have to learn it the hard way.
So as far as students go, you did a lecture today with our students. What do you think students are going to have to put out into the world to get them? I mean, journalism's so competitive right now. It's so competitive to get a job, and they're saying most of us, we're not going to be working at CBC. We're not going to be working at the Hamilton Spectator. We're going to be having to, like you, make our own startups. So what do you think the best advice you can give to a student is who wants to succeed in journalism?
Be unique, have a niche. Why do you stand out from the 250? You just throw a number out there. Let's say there's 250 applications in front of a hiring manager. What makes you stand out to be one of the 10 people that are interviewed? It's not going to be your credential, because guess what? Everybody has the credential. It's not going to be your name, because guess what? There's people that have names as well. It's not going to be your photo. There's going to be a lot of other people that have that same presence and gravitas. There's going to be something about you that goes, I'd like to interview them just to learn more about that. That's how you get your foot in the door, is you got to give them something that goes, and it might just be your personal website of, my website focuses upon this area. And they go, I know nothing about it. Editors, by their nature, are curious. Can you spike that curiosity to get them to go the next step to say, okay, I've done 250, 50 here are people that I'm going to do a Google search on. Have a niche, build a brand, build a network. I used to cover student union politics, and now a lot of those people have gone on to jobs in government. I have a Rolodex of people that are at low levels in government, but they're working for high-level people, which means I'm able to work with them to get the information I need.
Any advice? Do you have any advice on how students can get more involved in the world of information we have on the internet? You showed us some of the tools you use today. What are some of the great tools that students can use to get to tap into that source to make themselves more successful in the future?
I love Google Reader. Read a whole lot of blogs. I've got a tablet, and I sit on the bus, flipping. Here's a read, here's a read. And we're not talking Flipboard. We're talking old-fashioned RSS, which is not really filtered because your filter's not going to get everything. TweetDeck is great for organizing your Twitter activity. Don't fall into the trap of quick victory. I've seen so many people that go out and buy programs that follow people, unfollow, and do the follow back thing. They have 25,000 followers and they're following 24,000 people, and they're having conversations all day, but conversation for the sake of conversation. It's not to say don't be social, but figure out why you're building that. So I can look at my followers and say, this person is following me because they want to follow me, not because they're following back and discovering me by that. And it's enabled me to build a relationship with my readers that they're willing to open their wallets and contribute. And that's the big thing in journalism. We're talking about, well, people want information to be free. Information does need to be free, in that it needs to be able to free flow. Doesn't mean that there can't be a value attached to the work around that information.
Okay. Now you also told us today you have a huge following in Hamilton. You have been able to kind of tap into something in Hamilton that the Spectator has been lacking in, and it's that you reach out to your audience. You touch your audience, you get them involved. They like to tweet with you. They like knowing that, okay, Joey Coleman knows what's going on with open data transit, stuff like that. So he'll be talking to counselors about that. What's your next step? What do you want to do next to further your reach in Hamilton?
Well, I think the next step is to get into audio podcasting, interviews, some more feature format, increase my efficiency. So my next round of crowdfunding is to replace my 4-year-old laptop that's on the verge of dying. I've really worked it hard. That's one of my challenges. I use my equipment a lot. So when it's, say, 4 years old, it's really taken a lot of work during that time. Increase my efficiency, continue to build my business model, and then eventually transfer it into an institutional brand. Because at some point I know I'm going to want to go back to university and do further studies. And I don't want this to just drop. It can't be about me because it's not sustainable. Even if I do it for 50 years. Okay, what happens in 50 years? So that's the next challenge for me on the business side, is to transition it into an incorporation that's separate from, because right now I'm just a freelance incorporated. I have a GST number, but incorporate it more properly and build it that it transfers on, that when I leave, there's a team of 12 journalists that are covering the city that have rebuilt the journalism model at the local level.
So Joey, regularly you go to City Hall and go out to many events with just your backpack on your back. Now this is all the stuff that you put in your backpack when you're on your way to City Hall or any event. Tell us what we're seeing here.
So what you have here is you start with the camera. You have audio, 2 tablets. I use one to moderate the live stream and track the live stream. I use the other for browsing, reporting, tracking stuff. Also, of course, have the BlackBerry as well if I want to use that. Got the live streaming box here, so this is what mounts onto the camera to convert the HDMI to a signal that's compressed, sent to livestream.com. It operates on 3 batteries or AC power. I've got some spare batteries out here. I have another 4 that are sitting on a charger at home. So you can see here that we have 4 batteries between these items, 3 here, have 5 there. I have 2 in my mouse as well. So I have 18 batteries that I'm constantly tracking and cycling. I'm actually looking at buying some more. Got my external hard drive. This is a 1 terabyte drive. plugs into the internal hard drive of the camera. It's always important to dump video as soon as you've taken it. For redundancy, 1, and 2, you want to make sure that if you need space in your camera, you can quickly format the drive. SD card here, which is a 32 gigabyte class 10, that goes into the camera. Even though the camera has the external or the internal hard drive, I like to sometimes take stuff, put it on the SD card, very quickly transfer it over to my computer without connecting my camera to the hard drive or the camera to the computer. Tripod, very lightweight tripod. You trade off weight for features. It doesn't have a lot of features. Sometimes it's a bit of a challenge to balance it because I have to do it through the camera by pointing at something that's level and balancing that way. But the trade-off, of course, being is that I carry it 24/7, so that weight trade-off is there. The camera itself is completely dust-proof and very water-resistant when sealed like this. So everything is sealed right now, and this is great because if I'm at a scene, the last thing I want to be concerned about is the environment. You can often be at fire scenes where there's a lot of soot and other things in the air. The only thing I have to worry about is cleaning off the lens and the outside of the camera case. Sometimes it's raining a bit. Now, what I can do is I can add the soundboard to it, and this is when I'm at City Hall especially, or if I'm outside and the atmospheric conditions allow for it, so there's no rain, there's no soot, and simple attachment, and then I have the microphone that goes set, the shotgun mic. I have the portable microphone, the wireless one, which I use for interviews on the street. So often at a fire scene, I will be interviewing the fire captain, deputy chief, what's going on. I prefer to use the microphone and put it straight so I get good audio quality, because at a fire scene, of course, you have the fire, you have the residents, you have all the activity that's going around. The shotgun mic's picking that up. It's good at getting the voice, but you'd like to have that crispness that you can then use it for an audio podcast afterwards. So that's that. And then, of course, battery inside of the camera. And the camera, of course, has a lot of features. I've chosen a very compact camera, and it comes at a cost, the compactness. This is about a $3,500 camera. It also has infrared in it, which take off this, and you can see the infrared sensors are down here. And it's one button, so that's another advantage, that in a nighttime scene, especially if you're dealing with a emergency situation, you're covering something that's spot news, you don't have time to worry about lighting. And there are times where just putting it, yeah, it's green, but people don't care it's live. And I've actually been at fire scenes where the smoke, there's ambers in the smoke, and the human eye, you can pick that out, but because it's such a fine detail, and there's so much other lighting going on, remembering that you have a very bright fire, you're going to have the lights of the various emergency vehicles. A lot of the fire crews will also be carrying flashlights, so the amount of light that's going around is impossible to auto-adjust to. And even if you manually focus to get those ambers in the cloud, the smoke cloud, you're going to end up with light pollution coming in and destroying that shot. So that's where the night vision I found has come in really handy. It gives people a sense of, here's what's going on at the scene. Power is always important, so if I'm live streaming an event and I can get power nearby, long extension cord, and whenever I'm at an event such as a school board meeting, public meeting, I want to hardwire as much as possible. I can go mobile, I have a mobile modem, but when I'm going mobile, it's heavily pixelated because I'm dropping the quality down, I'm dropping the audio down, it's one channel. If I can hardwire in, I can increase the quality significantly. And what you see me able to do at any school or any city facility is go in full HD. So I'm putting out 2.3 megabits per second of video and audio, and people at home are able to put it on a 55-inch television and see it in fine detail. So that's the kit that I carry 24/7. And of course, power is always important. So the tablets and my BlackBerry take power. So I always have my power charging cords. And then at home, I also have a series of cords so that these can always stay in my bag. Because the thing that'll happen sometimes is if I take it all out and I'm charging and I'm rushing out the door in a hurry, you always forget something. So that's part of the reason why at home I love having my friends. They get a new phone, I go, can I get your extra charging cable?
Well, you carry all this with you and you set it up at City Hall. Now, how long does it take you to set up at City Hall? When you get there, How quick can you be up and running?
I can be up and running in less than 4 minutes.
In less than 4 minutes with all this equipment. So I'm assuming you plug this into your internet,
Yeah.
right? What about the tablets? What do you use them for at City Hall?
So the one tablet, this one here, I'll use to moderate the live stream. So I can view how many viewers I have, what people are saying, respond to what they're saying, and also moderate comments that are not on topic or inappropriate. So that's what this one does. And this one also has all my fun games and apps on it as well. So it's my Play tablet. This one here is straight up work. So I've got my various applications I use for work purposes. I use it for browsing, keeping up on the documents, following Twitter, tweeting. The reason I have two tablets is I like to have the straight moderation tablet because sometimes people say things that are inappropriate or libelous. And the quicker that you get that down, the less damages that could be done to somebody, the less likely that somebody's going to take action. Furthermore, one of the reasons why I moderate comments so heavily, and I'm very public about it, I'll say, I just deleted a comment because of this, is that I want my comments to have high quality. And I've learned from experience that moderation results in quality comments. I want somebody who does not want to get themselves involved in comments full of trolls to step up and say, I'm a former senior manager in this department, I understand this, or I'm a community leader, I understand this. I want people to not just be viewing, but understanding and having a discussion on the side of what does this mean. And I also discovered before I got the second tablet, this one here, one night I was at a fire scene. It was a multiple alarm, a senior's residence, 200 seniors in there. And because of all the apps that I was running and the amount of tweets that people were sending me, my other tablet went to a grinding halt. And what it is, of course, is that they're hearing that this home's being evacuated. I'm the only media on scene. Ironically, two of my competitors were 3 blocks away on James Street North, live tweeting the, was it Batman that was filming?
Yeah, there was something filming.
Yeah, it was a movie filming on James Street, and they were live tweeting that. Meanwhile, we had a seniors residence complex being evacuated, multiple alarm fire, and I remember just being flabbergasted because it's like, whoa. So what happens is a lot of people that have relatives there, they're tweeting me, what's going on, what's going on, what's going on? Oh, I have this relative, do you know anything, should I be coming? And my tablet is grinding to a halt from the amount of traffic. Mm-hmm. At that point, I realized I need to have something that's cleaner, that's focused on that, so that when I get a lot of tweets, I'm able to continue to publish, because that's the moment where people really care. The news is impacting them. They're sitting and they're trying to determine, do I leave my home to go downtown to help my relative, or would me going downtown result in hundreds of people and interfere with the emergency operation?
Yeah. It was RoboCop. I just remembered that they were
RoboCop,
filming.
yeah.
But like they're saying now, I mean, you need to be a social journalist. So obviously, while you have this all set up and you're covering a scene, it's great that you're on your tablet or on your BlackBerry tweeting things out. While interviewing people and while covering City Hall, that's pretty much what journalists need to do these days. What about this red box? How does this hook up to the camera, and what exactly does the red box do?
So the red box takes the HDMI signal. So you got your HDMI output in your camera.
Yep.
HDMI mini. And of course, mount it on, and you're now ready to go.
So this connects to the internet?
Yes.
So that you can live stream it right as you're recording?
Exactly.
Wow.
So, and that's the size of the actual computer component. Most of it's actually the battery. And you can put a rocket stick in right here, or I actually carry a pocket modem often, and that's what I do is I set up the wireless to the pocket modem and then out, and that pocket modem's in for repair right now because I damaged it. I had an antenna piece that I had configured to go into it to boost the signal. It snapped, which probably not a surprise. There's not many other people that are doing exactly what I do. So next time I've got to figure out how do I better attach it so that it's more durable. But that's it, is that if I'm at a scene, throw on the microphone in here, this is what I'm carrying.
Yeah, and what if you don't have an internet connection though? Like what if you don't have a direct cable here, or if you can't get Wi-Fi?
Then I'm just recording.
Then you're just recording.
And the second that I'm done recording, I'm rebroadcasting. So I also, because you remember the HDMI output is whatever the camera viewfinder is showing. So I will often at a fire scene, if I'm switching positions, I make a point of separately recording the briefings I do with the fire officials, and then I replay it. So I'll quickly tell my listeners using a lapel mic, okay, folks, I'm about to switch positions, or I'm about to do this, or I'm about to do that. I'm going to replay for you comments given to me by the deputy fire chief 30 minutes ago and put that on replay. So it's almost like a mobile studio.
Yeah,
now,
exactly.
People, of course, see, here's all your videos you've taken and the date, you know.
Yeah.
But people don't mind because they're going, wow, this is live. I'm actually able to get a sense of what's happening.
That's actually an amazing thing that you can plug that in, live stream that, and you can live stream the video much like you would see on CNN. They go to a live shot or someone live on the scene, and then when that person is changing shots or finding a new place to shoot, they go, all right, here are some of the videos or some of the interviews we've got from earlier today. And you can do that right from your camera. That's amazing to me. So what advantages do you think having this kind of setup can be for an independent journalist? And do you think this is kind of the future of journalism?
Well, simple fact that I can go live at any time, at any place. So the Dundas multiple alarm factory fire, which is the largest fire we've had in the city in over a decade. Every single fire apparatus in the city was deployed to this. And not only that, we brought in the volunteer tankers that are normally for rural fires only to increase the amount of water flow available to the fire chief. So we have a huge fire, and I'm on scene 22 minutes after it started. And this was actually, ironically, that night I just finally got my last shipment of equipment. So I hadn't yet tested the equipment. I had it all laid out on a table, and I'm about to do the first test. And I see the fire dispatch, I see the deputy fire chief go by my window, and he's booting it. And I'm like, okay, they have an upgrade to multiple alarm, but he's moving quick. There's something going on. So I call a taxi, and in the back of the taxi, I'm putting this all together, and I don't know if it's going to work. So I've tweeted to people. I said, okay, I'm about to test this. Will it work? And it did. And that was the perfect example where 22 minutes from downtown to the far end of Dundas, set live. I forgot my tripod, which was really funny because it's like, you can actually tell as the hours go on, I'm out there for 6 hours. My hands are getting more shaky, and it was only when my batteries all ran out that it was done. But that's what I can do, is I don't need to call for a truck. I don't need to call for a tech. I can go, I can do it immediately. And nobody else is doing that right now on a consistent basis, spontaneously.
So really, maybe you're a little too modest to say this, but would you say that, not would you say, but could we say that other news organizations have something to learn from you?
Well, I know that a lot of my competitors make a point of taking pictures of my equipment, and I'm quite happy to show them, because the thing is that I can only cover so much. There's unlimited news.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no scarcity of unreported stories. And my advantage never comes from equipment. If your advantage is equipment, equipment changes. You have no control over what the next technology is. And somebody with an iPhone can live stream something. Now, the quality is not there that's here with the camera. There's no zoom, the audio, but that technology is continuing to advance at a rapid pace. And there's always, the miniaturization continues. So never let technology be your sole advantage. It's part of the package, but it should only be a quarter at most. So yeah, other news organizations are looking at it, and I hope they do it. Because one of the reasons I stream City Hall meetings is I'm there anyway. And only a few people actually watch it for the entire time, because people have jobs, they have other things to do, and I'm at City Hall. There's days where if I did not sleep well the night before, I'd probably fall asleep. I joke that a few of the meetings I should try to bottle and sell as the cure to insomnia. But people really respect and trust that you are not trying to hide anything, you're not trying to advance an agenda, you're giving them the option of deciding for themselves, what does the news mean?
All right. Well, I think that pretty much sums it up. Do you have any other additional comments you'd like to make?
No, I appreciate you guys having me up here today. It was really nice to talk with students and to get some really good questions that forced me to think about what I do. So I think we've all benefited today.
All right, great. Thank you very much, Joey.
Thank
Really
you.
appreciate it. You can also find Joey on Twitter at Joey Coleman. Thank you very much. Look forward to having you watch us again next time.